Welcome to the Popcorn Talk Network, for the online broadcast network that features movie discussion, news, and interviews. Press 1. Popcorn Talk. We talk movies. In a world where action movies are constantly exploding at the box office, our heroes take on the monumental task of dissecting and analyzing all aspects of action movies to truly understand what it takes to make a great action film. Ben Bateman, Andrew Ghai, in a Popcorn Talk Network exclusive. This is Action Movie Anatomy.
Boom! What's up, everybody? Welcome to Action Movie Anatomy. Welcome to Wednesday morning. I'm your host, Ben Bateman, on the Popcorn Talk Network, the online movie network dedicated to talking movies and all things movie-related. I'm joined today by my excellent, my lovely, my exceptionally well-dressed co-host, Mr. Andrew Ghai.
Thank you so much for having me.
Dear Andrew, I like your tie.
Dear Ben, thank you for doing the show this week.
So, guys, if you can't tell, we are doing Con Air, and we have a special guest to help us do Con Air. The first time on the show, Miss Yael, is it Tygiel?
It's Tygiel. Don't worry about it.
Tygiel. Yael Tygiel.
Hi.
Thanks for that.
Yeah. Hi, guys. I'm so excited. I freaking love this movie.
We wanted to have you on the show for so long.
Yeah.
For so long.
And then when she said she wanted to do Con Air, I was like, yes, we're doing it. We're doing it now.
This movie is debatably your favorite movie of all time. Like, I know Gladiator's actually your favorite movie, but like in like an alternate like universe where you had a couple drinks and you get excited and you're you're just like, Con Air's my favorite movie ever. Like,
you mean last night?
Yeah.
Yeah, I absolutely adore this movie. I love this movie.
It's really good.
Every time I watch it, I'm like, it's still the same. It's still the same as when I was a kid.
Oh, it's fantastic. I mean, it's fantastic. Like, and watching it again for me, because this is a lot of these movies we do on this show. By the way, guys, this is Action Movie Anatomy, and we are doing the movie Con Air. If you couldn't tell, we're just going to give a little prerequisite. But a lot of the movies we do on this show, I find I have this wonderful memory of them from growing up, and I see them on cable so constantly. I mean, we've worked in bars for years on and off, so you know the TVs are always on, and after 9 o'clock when there's no more sports, you always go to cable TV, like
always.
cable movies. How many times has Con Air been on that I've seen 20 or 30 minutes of it? Countless numbers of times.
Yeah.
So it's one of those movies where, like, sitting down to watch the whole thing again, I'm just sort of reminded, like, I remember now the last time I watched the whole movie and how hilarious so much of it is.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
They're like, because you guys all know we have our favorite line of the movie, and I'm sitting there and I'm like, oh, that line's so good.
It's good.
Like 5 minutes later, oh my gosh, that line's so good.
Every line in this movie is
here's the
just
trailer.
so funny.
We got the trailer now? All right.
Yeah, it's fine.
Let's do it.
Cue it. We'll keep talking.
All right. I mean, the reason I love this movie so much is because every time I'm watching TV and I'm just flipping through the channels, like, I need something to watch.
Yeah.
It's on. I'm like, I'm gonna sit and watch Con Air again, even though I've seen it and I know what happens and I remember. It's not like I'm like, I wonder what happened. No, I'm gonna sit and rewatch it over and over and over again.
Right.
And I can't help it.
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
It's great.
It's also really funny too, like, and we'll get to this when we talk star profiles, but just like seeing Nick Cage and like where he was in his career. Yeah, it's right here. There's just everything about this movie. I mean, I'll save it for my thesis statement, but I mean, it's pretty incredible to, like, 1997, this movie, the actors involved, everything about it. It's so indicative of the genre.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe more so than any other movie ever. Like, of the 1990s action movie genre.
Right.
I was toying with this as a thesis, but I think I'm going to go with something else.
Okay.
But maybe I'll use it. I don't know. Anyway, you guys enjoyed watching the movie, I take it?
Oh, I love
Yeah.
it. Yeah. I could literally watch this movie once a week, and I would always be happy.
Fantastic.
I think there was a good 2 months where I did, because for whatever reason it was on every night.
Right.
I was like, well, I guess I'll watch it again.
Yeah, right.
I mean, this is one of the all-time, like, cable always movies.
Yeah, it's also like a pretty fantastic trailer, and like I feel like this was the peak of Bruckheimer. Like, this was sort of like the...
Because like a couple other things afterwards that were notable. I mean, like Pirates of the Caribbean.
The whole Pirates franchise obviously is pretty impressive, and definitely like Gone in 60 Seconds I love to death. But I mean, in terms of like his run and just the epic quality of the run, the mid 90s was just out of control, and like this 97, I don't know, it's pretty fantastic. Before we do move on and get into, you know, our appraisal of the trailer and whatnot, guys, if you're listening to this on iTunes, if you are downloaded on iTunes or you're watching on YouTube, your comments and your input mean the world to us, and it also helps us keep doing the show to stay high in the ratings, etc., etc. So please review us on iTunes, comment on YouTube, Follow me, Yael, or Andrew on Twitter if you want to interact while you're watching the show. I can't live tweet at you, but I will literally pick my phone up as soon as we're done. And if you've tweeted me something about the show, I'll tweet back at you immediately. You can find me at Ben Bateman Media.
At Andrew Ghai, and I do have the chat open right now on YouTube, so if you're commenting, I'll do my best to respond.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And I'm at Yael Tygiel.
As your necklace says.
As my necklace says, for those who are watching.
Look at that.
It's very clever.
It's
That's
my
awesome.
Twitter handle.
Where's my necklace, Ben?
I don't know.
Show for a while.
I didn't make Yael her necklace.
I know you made the necklace.
That would have been awesome.
Would have been a great gift.
Yeah.
Hey, nice to meet you. I'm a fan of yours. I made you this necklace. I'm not a stalker.
I'm not a stalker, not at all.
My fans have given me weirder things, I'm going to be honest.
Fair enough. Oh, yeah, because you have Yael TV.
Yeah.
You have Yael TV.
Yes, I do.
Where can the people find that?
At yael.tv.
Oh, excellent.
Yael TV.
Look at that.
Check it out.
Fantastic. So, guys, what we do here to start the show out after we've watched the trailer, which we just did, is we share our thesis statement. So it's sort of like a bold statement. The way we like to do this is it has to be something strong. It can't be something wishy-washy. It can't be I feel this, that, or the other. It has to be this is, or this is the greatest, etc., etc., etc. And then we will share our favorite lines. If you guys have yours that you want to share with us, fist bump moments, thesis statements, again, tweet, comment. I'm going to start with our guest, with Yael. What do you
You're going to
think?
hate me so much.
I don't know.
All right, this is the movie that changed everything for Nicolas Cage. If his career is a bell curve, this is the absolute top. Because right before this was The Rock and Leaving Las Vegas, great movies. This movie hit, great movie. And then he did Face Off, also good movie. We're still up at the top.
Sure.
City of Angels, Snake Eyes, and then we go down.
Snake Eyes?
Then we go down to 8mm and Gone in 60 Seconds, and then The Family Man, which is when he hit rock bottom.
Family Man's fantastic. That's a critically acclaimed film. I love that movie. Have you ever seen The Weatherman? 06? That's like one of my favorite movies of all time.
All right.
I do love The
stand by
Weatherman,
my
and I also
statement.
love The Family Man.
I also have to take offense to like just your like your estimation of like so many of those movies are so like they're just off the wall. Like The Rock is one of my favorite movies ever, no question. But calling The Rock a good movie in the same sentence as Leaving Las Vegas,
Whoa. The Rock is a great movie.
it's a great movie. But like saying that he's doing good work, like he did Leaving Las Vegas, and then he did The Rock, and then he did Con Air, like they're great in their own right, all different. But like no, like if he was going off a cliff, then it was starting with The Rock and Con Air because he won an Oscar for playing a dying alcoholic in Leaving Las
after
Vegas.
The Rock.
I want to say this is the moment that splits it.
Yeah, I mean, maybe like a few years earlier. Like I feel like his career prior to winning the Oscar for Leaving Las Vegas. Well, we'll get into this with Star Profiles. I don't want to harp on it too hard.
Yeah, that's my thesis.
I appreciate the enthusiasm. I can't necessarily say you're wrong. I just love The Family Man. Andrew, what do you got?
I think this is the best worst movie of all time for me.
Oh, like a good bad movie.
Like a great bad movie. It's so bad and it's so good. Like I love this movie so. Like every line is like a favorite line, right? And the action's good. The acting is like it's not good,
right?
Like Nicolas Cage won an Academy Award 2 years before this, for one of my favorite performances that he's ever done. Probably my favorite.
Yeah, it's really good.
It's incredible.
Yep.
And then he goes and does this.
He traveled to Mobile, Alabama to perfect the accent.
To perfect the accent.
Oh, it's the worst.
It's horrible.
Oh, it's like
Trisha Poe.
Yeah, Trisha Poe.
I was saying earlier that any scene with him and Monica Parter, I'm like, nope, I can't take it seriously.
He's
Just
like listening to
mute
the
it.
baby. He's like, but can't you see I'm in the middle of something right now? You want me Miss Alabama?
There are so many good moments though, and that's the thing is like I would agree with you as far as it being the best good bad movie. It's sort of like so. We talk about Tom Cruise on the show constantly, right? We talk about him all the time because
we promised the viewers we were not going to talk about him this week.
Well, the reason that we talk about him so much is obviously because he has this like iconic quality, this sort of we'll even say enigmatic quality, where it's hard to figure out what makes Cruise or why. I would say that, and this is obviously why they're two of my favorites. Nick Cage has a similarly weird quality. It's just that his career went off a cliff, but in his prime, when he was doing it and he was still like making he was top billing, he had the same sort of thing where you were just like, how do you just keep making these movies that make so much money and you're still kind of like, you can still sell a movie like you're a good actor, and we see you come through sometimes. You know, he does a bunch of bad movies, then he does like adaptation, and he does a bunch of bad movies. He does Bad Lieutenant, Port of New Orleans. It's like
Lord of War, like things like that.
Right. Or we see these movies that he comes out with.
Have you given up on Nick Cage?
No,
me neither.
I still love him to
even
pieces.
though he does like the worst movies ever.
Yeah.
Now and like every time you see it, what is that movie that he just did with Hayden Christensen?
Oh,
the Blade.
I am the white ghost. The blood we spill will be on our swords.
We'll be on our blades. What are you doing, man?
It's on Netflix right now. Yeah. The trailer, if you guys, I can't think what it's called. I wish I could remember what it's called.
Honestly, if you look at a movie with Hayden Christensen in it, it's probably gonna be like one of the only things he's done in the last 5 years.
The trailer for this movie was like, I was off my chair laughing. Like,
you sent it to me immediately.
Yeah, I couldn't even. I didn't send it to you. I made you watch it with me.
Right.
And I would refuse to tell you what you were watching because when he first shows up and he says, "I am the white ghost," like I wanted you to fall off your chair, and you did. Yeah. I mean, it's that good.
I gotta see this movie.
Yeah, the trailer's pretty sweet. So
what is your bold statement, Benjamin?
Well, okay, so I had my initial thought, right, which was that I think this movie is the most indicative film of 90s action movies ever made.
That's a great statement.
And the reason, I had another one on the way over here that I actually liked better, and it'll probably come to me in the context of the show at some point, and I'll just use it as a point. But the reason I say that is because if you think about the three top billed guys in this movie,
right? Cusack, Malkovich,
Malkovich, Cage. At their best, none of those three guys are supposed to be action movie stars.
No.
At their best, all three of those guys are supposed to be Oscar nominated or winning dramatic set pieces in movies that are good. Like they're all talented, extremely talented actors.
Yes.
Capable of winning Oscars.
Yeah.
So when you think about the fact that in the late 90s,
this movie's so good.
The culture had evolved in such a way that the best actors in the world wanted to star in Bruckheimer movies with like nothing scripts. They were completely invested. They were like, look, I want to be in the next The Rock because everybody saw that and loved it.
Right.
Whereas like nowadays when an A-list star is in a movie like this, it's because they're over the hill and they're trying to take a paycheck. You don't see like Con Air comes out starring like Ryan Gosling. He doesn't do that. You don't see Con Air coming out starring like Tom Hardy. You know, those quality up and coming young heartthrob actors who are talented like this, they don't do movies like this. They did in the 90s. They were able to get the best actors for whatever reason. It just was the culture at the time.
It was what people wanted to see. It's what people like love.
John fucking Malkovich. The guy's like a phenomenal actor. Like better actor than any of the three, really.
Well, this is the thing we talk about. It's like with Philip Seymour Hoffman. When you take an Academy Award winning actor, literally winning leading man the year before, and you throw him in a movie like this. I mean, Mission Impossible 3 is obviously much better than this movie. Yeah. But it's taking these guys that could literally do anything they wanted.
Yeah.
At all in Hollywood, any movie, and they do this
100%.
I think that in How to Lose Friends and Alienate People, Simon Pegg has the quote. He says, "I think Con Air is the best movie ever because you have Malkovich for the acting and Cage for the comedy." And I was like, I was gonna write that quote as my thesis statement. I was like, yeah, this is great.
That's good.
It's really like fascinating when you think about like how maligned this movie is, how much people joke about it,
right?
And then you think about the people involved, and you really try to take them out of context, and you're looking at this like it's these weird rose-colored glasses because it starts to definitely turn in the next 5 or 6 years, where it wasn't happening so much, and now in the straight-to-video revolution that we're in, like. Actors with cachet like those three would never do a movie like this.
No. Like at that time in their career.
Yeah, unless it was like Michael Mann doing this movie.
Right.
At which point you're like, well, okay, yeah, maybe it's going to be like an awesome, but not Simon West. Do you guys know about? Well, we'll get to that in a second.
I hate to do this. Did we talk about our rules?
I
someone
forgot to
so kindly
introduce
reminded
it.
me by calling. What does it say here? The rules of this podcast are fucking bullshit. So I was like, we didn't talk about our rules this week.
Yeah.
I think we should talk about it.
That's excellent. Yes, so guys, we have 4 rules, and as we do the show, the movies that we do are supposed to fit these 4 rules. And I do find that more and more, it feels like we skip outside of it.
Yeah, we do.
They're kind of a guideline more than rules, we'll say.
More actual guidelines.
Yeah, more guidelines than rules. But the 4 that we like to use are that the hero is always someone who plays by their own rules.
Yep.
The hero and the villain are always the smartest people and or creatures or dinosaurs or aliens or whatever in the room. The hero is always a police, military, or political figure.
Right.
And lastly, there's at least one explosion. Now, this movie, I think, hits it dead on the head.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely.
Like, perfectly.
It's fantastic.
Like, this is like almost one of those movies that we made the rules around.
Yeah, because Malkovich is definitely the smartest guy in the room.
Oh, yeah.
I remember when he was a kid and he's like pulling that like needle out of his hand. I was like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. That's not what it sounded like as a kid. But that's how I felt.
No.
We eat these Cheetos.
It was absolutely disgusting, but also awesome.
Yeah, right. No, and then like Dave Chappelle with like the gasoline.
Oh.
It was genius.
Yeah, it's great. It was
Like
so
in the 90s, this was like, oh my gosh, this is all genius.
They were so cunning.
Yes.
Nobody ever would have seen it coming.
Never.
Cyrus the Virus is able to just like have like a disintegrating like the corner of his cell. Like no, he doesn't. Like it's not like his cell ever gets swept.
Nope.
You know, he's just gonna have like a friggin' library on how to build an airplane behind the wall.
Bomb too. Back there.
Incredible. Because he's a genius. He's a genius.
He's a genius.
He like the villain requisite the villain prerequisites in this movie, like we call them villain qualifiers. You know, he spent 7 years in a Siberian prison, killed 12 Green Berets. He's the like that kind of stuff. They're so good in this movie.
Oh, they're great.
It's like every time they talk about a villain, they're like here's a
Billy Bedlam.
Yeah, Billy Bedlam. Cyrus the Virus.
I mean, they have an entire sequence of just, hey, we're going to qualify all of those.
This is how bad everyone is.
Look how exciting it is.
They're talking to Denzel for the movie. It's so sweet.
Really, the worst guy in the movie, the baddest guy is Billy Bedlam, I feel like.
The baddest? Like he's the most badass?
Like the baddest person, the worst villain.
But he's like the first to go.
Well, he is, but I just mean like he's pure evil.
I disagree.
Buscemi's
supposed to be.
He's redemption. He's redeemed.
Oh, so I want to talk about
He doesn't kill the girl.
When he walks away with the doll?
With the doll.
Yeah, and he doesn't kill the girl because you see her waving as they fly away.
Sure.
And he's like playing craps in Vegas at the end of the movie.
There are like forums online discussing his whole story arc, and that is it that he's redeemed at the end, that he decides to be good or whatever? And I'm like, no, I think he just let that girl live.
Right.
Because he was like, I'm gonna let this girl live.
I'm gonna kill someone else.
Yeah. And then he's free in Vegas. I don't think he's saved. I don't think he's better.
This is a character who says, I'm sorry to cut you off.
Yeah.
One girl I drove through 3 states wearing her head as a hat. Yeah. To which Cage responds, it's my daughter's birthday today. So please feel free not to share everything with me.
Right? Like, that's not. I don't think he's
go down.
saved.
One comes up. He's great. I think it's Billy Bedlam. I think he's evil.
He's the baddest baddie.
Yeah. All right. Let's move on to
let's get into fist bump.
Yeah.
So guys, again, I'm sorry if you feel these rules are effing BS, but we do like to share our fist bump moment here. What we do with the fist bump moment is this is kind of the moment where you're sitting on the couch. In fact, I was sitting on the couch this morning watching the film and paused it after the initial sequence, which is my fist bump moment, to run into the other room to be like, tell my roommate, like, God, I hadn't watched this movie in a while. The whole way through. And this opening sequence is so sweet. So like that is the definition of fist bump, is you want to share how much you're enjoying it with someone, and you wish someone was around you so you could look at it and be like, yes! Something that happens. Yeah. And so my fist bump moment is, in fact, the opening sequence. The Dear Casey, dear Casey, I miss you so much. And like he's like those pink, like just everything he says in the scene. He's doing like yoga and like pull-ups and like staying jacked, and like all of it is just so. He's like, I'm a changed man. I'm learning Spanish. The scene when he's actually speaking Spanish, you're like, you see the book and you're like, please tell me Nick Cage is going to be speaking Spanish in his Mobile, Alabama accent, and then he does.
So good. It's so good.
Yeah. Yo soy yo pantalones or something. Like he just I mean, that's not what he says, but anyway, it's fantastic. I love that
Brian, a big fan of the show, Brian Hurst, goes, Buscemi totally went on a murdering spree as soon as he left the craps table.
Yeah.
I don't think so. I think he's changed.
He's not saved.
Piece of trivia, I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but I believe Buscemi's craps dealer at the casino is the writer of the film.
Oh, really? Oh. Ferguson.
Yep,
or not Ferguson.
So. No, it's
Ferguson. That's right.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Rosenberg. Scott Rosenberg.
Oh, right. I'm sorry. Yeah. Please.
My fist bump moment. Okay, so my initial fist bump moment is as they're getting off the bus and they're like, "That's this person," and here's what he did.
Right.
That's my first one, and then. Every time the Con Air music plays, every time I'm like, yeah, that's like fist to the air, fist bump. Every time.
That's great.
I would agree that the villain qualifier is like my other favorite part of the movie.
Yeah.
Oh, it's fantastic.
Yeah, because that's the other part where you're watching, you're like, yes, this is so sweet.
Because you're like, these guys are so effed.
Yeah, they're such bad guys. Yeah. Such bad guys. Like Johnny 23.
Yeah. He's great.
Yeah, Danny Trejo.
Yeah, he's awesome in this. Okay, so I have two fist pump moments, and they both come from being a kid and watching this movie and just being like, yes.
All right.
So the first one is in the fight in the very beginning when he kills that guy with a knife, and he hits him in the nose and drives the thing up into his brain, killing him immediately.
This is the line from MacGruber, right? Yeah, Forte.
Through the nose, what does he say? Drive the bone into your brain, killing you immediately.
Yeah, something like that.
And then the other one is also like when I was a kid, when Ving Rhames is stabbing the medical officer in the throat with the handcuffs. I was like, oh my gosh, like this is so intense. Yeah. I was like, this is an R-rated movie. This is definitely R-rated. Yeah. It was great. Those are my two fist pump moments.
Both sweet. Both excellent. If you guys have any fist pump moments you want to share with us, please do. Let's get directly into the next section of the show, which is
Star profiles.
Thanks for saving me there.
No problem. That's why we're a team.
So we mentioned it a couple times already here, but the star profile of Nick Cage is absolutely remarkable. I mean,
yes, this is the pinnacle of his career.
Yeah, well, so it's very interesting that Nick Cage had like the genesis of his career, right? So most of us know that he is Francis Ford Coppola's nephew. And he started out in the mid-'80s doing like uncredited roles. He has an uncredited non-speaking part in Fast Times at Ridgemont High. He's obviously he's in Rumblefish in the late 80s. He's in The Cotton Club, which is a Coppola movie. He's got all these credits in the 80s. You know, I've like Red Rock West, Wild at Heart, David Lynch's movie. He was like a very respectable actor.
Yeah.
I mean, Raising Arizona, like he was in a lot of great movies. And I think he was like an up-and-coming kind of like cute and good actor. People thought he was
Nick
talented.
Cage cute?
He was rosy cheeked, right? Like Peggy Sue Got Married, like the picture you always use with the hair.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
All right.
Yeah, right. So like that was kind of his thing. Like he was
like, whatever.
If you say he's cute,
well, in the 80s he was like playfully cute. Like he wasn't the Nick Cage that we
Stop saying cute.
learned to love in the 90s.
Sure.
So by like 92, 93, 94, when he was sort of like turning in, Amos and Andrew and movies like that, he then wins the Oscar in 95. Right, and everybody's like, okay, vindicated. Nick Cage, because he had like Vampire's Kiss, I think, was just a couple years earlier, or Kiss of Death, 95, right? And I think Vampire's Kiss a couple years before that. But yeah, Kiss of Death's like an action movie. He started to kind of transition in the mid-90s. So the three prior movies, The Rock, 96, which is maybe the best movie ever made in the history of action movies.
Ever, yeah.
Okay.
I watched it again like 2 days ago. Oh, I'm so pumped.
Incredible.
Yeah.
We'll do it on the show eventually.
Absolutely.
But
once we get Ed Harris on the show.
Leaving Las Vegas, 95, wins the Oscar. Also very good.
Love that movie.
Slow and dark, but a great performance. Still very watchable. And then Kiss of Death, which is a pretty like throwaway action movie. He's jacked, obviously, because like mid-90s Cage was pretty jacked.
Yeah, absolutely. Did you read that like Offset
in between lifting weights?
Yeah, like he got caught like getting jacked in between scenes by the crew. Like, what's Nick Cage doing? Oh, he's lifting weights.
He's like pretty yoked. Like there's like the scenes where he's in the wife beater with the gun.
Oh yeah, I would say this is the body he was trying to get when he went and did Ghost Rider.
Right.
And he was too old at that point to do it.
Right. Yep. He was gone at that point. He couldn't do it anymore.
How did none of us talk about the moment, again, reminded by Brian, when he's walking through the plane and he gets shot in the arm and he doesn't even move?
Of course, dude.
That's the best fist pump moment. I'd throw everything away that I said.
Classic action.
It's incredible.
Anytime you can take a bullet and not flinch. It's the same as like when like the villain is so badass that like he gets hit, it's like,
and he just
doesn't move, and then he like throws one punch and knocks the guy down. It's the classic like action movie.
I think
cliches.
you guys even talked about this in your Taken show.
Yeah.
That the hero has to get shot somewhere in the arm, probably.
That's like somewhere that's like doesn't affect you.
Like required.
Yeah, it's an ultimate qualifier. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
The Man on Fire one's one of the best ones.
That one's great.
Yeah. He's great. Greasy. God, I love that movie.
So good.
All right, yeah. So anyway, the three most recent hits thing. It is funny what you say, Yael, about the like his career devolving after this.
Yeah.
Because it is weird. And again, this is indicative of the 90s, but it is very weird that like he wins the Oscar in 95, and he was already making The Rock at that point. So it wasn't like. It wasn't like, he won for Leaving Las Vegas and they were like, we'll make The Rock now. It's like he was already signed on and working on it. But then like the next few years after the success of The Rock, signing on to do
like Con Air
and signing on to do Face Off. And even just a couple years after that, Gone in 60 Seconds. I mean, he just became this cashed in action movie guy.
Yeah. It's weird because you win an Academy Award for one of the greatest dramatic performances ever, really. I mean, that's incredible.
Right.
And then you go on to being an action hero for the next like decade.
That's what I'm talking about, the enigma that is Nicolas Cage.
Yeah.
Because if you look in the mid-90s and then the thing that started to happen in the 2000s, it's like he was still trying to toe the line and do both.
Yeah.
Because he did Gone in 60 Seconds, but then he did Adaptation within a year of that. And Adaptation's one of his other best roles.
Absolutely.
It's a great movie. And he did Matchstick Men with Ridley Scott a couple years later, which is it's solid. He's very good in it.
That movie.
And
I love that movie.
Yeah, and he's dramatic. He's good in that movie. Like these screwball kind of like weird dark comedies like Weatherman in the mid 2000s. It's like he was trying and somehow his star just was like fading slowly.
Right, and there wasn't really quite a reason why, because these movies were good. I guess none of them were like Adaptation was though. Like people talk about that movie to this day still as one of the like great movies.
It's an Oscar-winning film.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So it's weird. It's weird what happened with Nick Cage, and then it just went downhill after he lost all of his money.
And then he did National Treasure, guys. He did National Treasure and National Treasure 2,
Made
soon
huge amount of money.
National Treasure 3.
Massive.
Yes.
Yeah, it's coming out.
Like Nick Cage he's still around. Like my theory on Nick Cage is that he needs basically like Tarantino to reinvent his career. Somebody needs to put him.
Yeah.
Somebody needs to put him in like one of these directors who's like an auteur. Like Wes Anderson needs to like take Nick Cage and put him in his movie. It's kind of like the Cruise effect. It's like we talked about, where he regained his
he's doing Mana now, and we're like, what's gonna happen?
Yeah, like with the Tropic Thunder thing. It's like he needs to poke fun at himself. He like needs to do something where he's not just this guy, because he's making these like straight to video Netflix movies now that they come out and you're like Rage and like Left Behind and like these movies that
Drive Hard.
Joe,
you've just never heard of for the most part, right? Like. So yeah, anyway,
Joe was pretty good from a few people.
I haven't seen it, but I've heard the same thing. Let's jump over to John Malkovich.
Yeah.
So Malkovich, Portrait of Lady, Mulholland Falls, The Ogre. I'm going to be perfectly honest. 1996, all three films. Never seen any of them.
Agreed.
I think I watched Mulholland Falls when I was like very young, but I don't remember it at all. The other two I've not seen. I'd never even heard of The Ogre.
Mm-hmm.
Which is pretty indicative of who he was at the time.
But that's like a Nazi movie. He's like the lead in like a Nazi movie, I'm pretty sure.
But he was like this guy, because being John Malkovich is... Within 2 years of this, I want to say being John Malkovich is like 97.
That blew my mind when I was a kid. I like didn't understand what was happening at all, and I was just like, "What's going on?" My sister loved it. Yeah. Anyway, I digress.
I'm pretty sure I saw that movie before I saw Con Air.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, "Who is this?" And then I saw Con Air. I was like, "Got it.
Right.
I know who this is."
I know who he is. Yeah.
Because mid-90s, Malkovich was a guy who was almost like parodied in some ways, which is why the movie being John Malkovich is what it is.
Yeah.
As being this intense, incredibly dramatic Broadway type who was doing films, but he wasn't like a guy where he was like he was trying to break into the movie scene and be this guy. It was like you could have imagined that he would have taken 2 or 3 years off to just be on Broadway and then come back. Mm-hmm. So for him to be in a movie like this after those three is kind of just, I mean, that's my theory, right? It's like this is the ultimate representation. Why on earth is John Malkovich
in this movie?
In Con Air?
Right.
What the hell is he doing in this movie?
But it's perfect.
He's great. He's fantastic.
It was so hard to recast it because I was like, no, I think they just bring him back.
I mean, yeah, you totally could. He doesn't look like he's aged at all, really.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, you definitely could bring him back.
I thought about it. I really did think about it.
I was like, I don't want to recast that role.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
That said, I do have a great recast.
Her recast for Malkovich is perfect. It makes me upset.
I'm very happy with mine.
I'm so excited.
We'll get to that. So let's talk a little bit about the production development. Who wrote it, produced it, directed it, whatnot. Right. So, movie is directed by Simon West. Now, the other thesis statement that I was going to use, and this will apply to Simon West, is that Con Air is the Michael Bay movie that Michael Bay never made.
Absolutely.
It is identical. I mean, it is a Michael Bay movie, essentially.
Yes, it's very close.
If you, like in the 90s, if you were to try to go through like the Michael Bay filmography and you were going to try to remember them offhand, I would say 90% of people would be mistaken in saying that Con Air was a Bay movie.
Totally.
Like it's just everything.
It's classic Bruckheimer Bay.
Yeah.
Well,
and it's not, though.
The way you know it's not a Michael Bay movie is that we don't have some skanky girl running around.
What are you talking about? The cross-dressers run around all over the place.
Yeah.
What, Sally Can't Dance? No, that's not what I'm talking about.
No,
I'm talking about like a Megan Fox in short shorts.
Yeah, but that's later, Bay, because The Rock doesn't have that. The Rock doesn't have that.
No.
So,
they do have the sex scene in the beginning.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
But the Michael Bay stuff, the stuff that is like indicative of Michael Bay,
the music.
It's the music. It's like the slow-mo turns and like 360s and 180 turns.
Yep.
It's like, even his use of Michael Clark Duncan in Armageddon, Ving Rhames. Like it's this.
Yeah.
He likes to have 1 or 2 black characters that are stereotypically like ebonicked out black. Like he likes to have like
they all
really bad
Dave
comedy.
Chappelle, Ving Rhames,
that's what I'm saying.
and Baby-O.
Yeah, he wants them to be like total characters from like.
Man, get off my insulin.
Exactly. That's like his thing, right? Like in The Rock, the chick when she's like.
And then it goes all the way up to the Transformers when he made those 2 racist robots
that are totally racist. Yeah. So that's like this is like a Michael Bay movie, but it's directed by Simon West. So West is a guy who's, I don't want to call him a hired gun because he's been successful and he's done a lot of movies.
Yeah.
But he's definitely not somebody who you're like, oh, this is a Simon West film. He's like, I would call him.
He doesn't have that feel like Tony Scott, Bay, like those type of guys.
He's an action movie hired gun. I mean, he did The Expendables 2 in 2012. He did The Mechanic in 2011. He had a long stretch of kind of nothing movies in the mid 2000s. After this, he followed it up with The General's Daughter and Lara Croft Tomb Raider. So, you know, he was a successful financial director, so he was bankable. So they put him on some movies. I think Lara Croft made some money. General's Daughter did, but not enough to sustain his career.
Right.
And he's still, you know, he's like a TV guy now. I think he's got like 4 or 5 movies announced, but none of them are like high profile projects.
Right. Like he did The Expendables here, The Expendables 2, excuse me, and he's doing the new with the Blob, which I didn't even know they were doing that, but I'm down.
All right.
Yeah.
He's linked to Bruckheimer.
Yeah.
He's linked. He's still with that crew. It hasn't been that long, so that's kind of his thing. Hilariously enough, you guys remember a few years ago when every time you would click on a YouTube video and it was the Rick Astley video for Never Gonna Give You Up?
Never Gonna Give You Up.
You get Rickrolled?
Rickrolled, yeah.
He directed Never Gonna Give You Up, the music video. That's Simon West. That's his greatest claim to fame.
Right. That's what people have seen more than anything.
Aside from Con Air, he's the Rickrolled guy. He directed Never Gonna Give You Up.
If he's watching this right now, he's gonna find out where you live and kill you just for calling him the Rickrolled guy. That's the pinnacle of his career. Is that video.
Yeah, exactly. So when I read it, like I was going through trivia, and it was like, or I was going through his filmography, and it was like Never Gonna Give You Up, short, like video short. Right. I was like, wait, is it a video short? I was like, or is it just the music video for Never Gonna Give You Up? And it was definitely the video for Never Gonna Give You Up.
Amazing.
And I was
very colorful video.
Mind blown. Yeah, absolutely. So from there you get Jerry Bruckheimer. Now Bruckheimer, guys,
he's probably the greatest action movie producer.
Yeah. I mean,
of our generation. I mean, there's others.
There's a couple, but like as far as just the sheer numbers are concerned,
I mean, you just talk about National Treasure, Pirates of the Caribbean,
the whole Pirates franchise.
Yeah, you just talk about that alone. That's massive.
The Rock, Armageddon, the Bad Boys franchise, the Beverly Hills Cop franchise,
Top Gun.
Yeah, just an absurd number. He and Don Simpson in the mid '80s,
right?
They just took over the '80s and the '90s, and they split. He and Don Simpson.
Well, Simpson died.
But they split before that,
right?
On this movie,
yes.
Right? Because
he died during The Rock.
Yeah, so he had already said he hated the script for Con Air so much. Yeah. He wanted nothing to do with Con Air. And so their producing partnership dissolved, and then he died within a year.
And then he dedicated The Rock to him.
Yeah.
Which is funny because Malkovich also hated the script for this movie so much because they were constantly rewriting it, like virtually rewriting it every single day. And he was so pissed off because he's like, I don't know what my character is going to be like. Right. Which is, again, it's a testament to who he is as an actor. He's like, what are you doing to me? Like, but it's Con Air, man. It's fine.
Yeah, right. I mean, Cusack hates this movie so much he won't talk about it in interviews, right? So all the dramatic actors involved, you wonder what Cage would say about it.
Oh, it's one of my favorites.
It's one of my favorite films. He's got so many sweet lines in this movie. Like when we do favorite line, you could just, there's like 7.
The whole
easy.
Script.
I was just admiring your cage.
My mama lives in a trailer.
Nice. Yeah. Fits you pretty nice. That's one of my favorites. It's so good. So yeah, Bruckheimer, Don Simpson. It's hard to really say much more about that. This movie is produced by a couple other people.
Right.
You have Chad Oman and Kenny Bates of the 7 producers credited are the other 2 that matter the most, I'd say. But really
when Bruckheimer's name's attached to any project, you talk about him.
I'd say the 7 producers that I did research on for this, they're all guys that have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, or 8 credits, and almost all of those, like 3 to 8, are just movies that Bruckheimer produced. Okay. So he's got a team, basically. These 2 guys that I referenced, Bates and Oman, they worked on like the most movies with him, like 8 or 9 movies each, but they're all just Bruckheimer movies. Right. So it's like you have to suspect like his name's involved. He's got a team of people that he brings in over the years. Who is he working with at this time? Who's he working with at this time? Who owns the property? What studio, etc. And that's just kind of how it works. But if it's a Bruckheimer movie, it's a Bruckheimer movie.
Exactly.
This is interesting because it's the first movie that he did without Don Simpson.
Yes, this was the very first one. Yeah.
And the castle was built on the Simpson-Bruckheimer. In fact, at the beginning of this movie, the Jerry Bruckheimer, the logo you see, is the first time that it was ever the Jerry Bruckheimer logo. Like the first time that was ever used was this movie.
Fun fact.
Fun facts. That's right.
Exactly. So yeah, let's talk a little bit about Rosenberg, Scott Rosenberg, who wrote the film. Right, Scott Rosenberg.
Yeah,
Scott Rosenberg.
That's right.
Another guy who's kind of, well, he's a little more relevant than West, I'd say, because he's still working. He has TV shows out. Rosenberg he produces TV shows. I think that's the show Happy Land, or was it last year?
Yeah,
MTV show.
So.
Happy Land on MTV.
Yeah,
I was on the after show for that.
I think it was Happy Land. Happy Times. Don't quote me on that.
Was it happy-ish?
Andrew, can we get a look? Can we get a look up on that?
Keep talking.
Was it happy-ish?
We're gonna redeem
No, I think
ourselves.
it was Happy Land. I think he was an EP and a writer on it.
Oh, sad.
But I could be wrong. So anyway, he was a guy who in the early '90s caught the train of Pulp
Happy
Fiction.
Town.
Happy Town.
Oh, thank God.
Town.
Different show.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, good. So I was
concerning.
totally wrong.
And Kangaroo Jack.
Kangaroo Jack. Yeah. So
Yeah, that makes sense.
He's written a fair amount of movies, and he's still in the scene. Like he's produced shows over the last
Yeah.
few years as an EP, as a writer and a creator. So he gets to continue, getting a paycheck and all that. He's not a guy who like completely fell off the planet. But there was a trend in the early '90s that happened where Pulp Fiction and Reservoir Dogs were so successful in '92 and in '94 that this kind of gritty, everybody getting shot up, crime, guys in suits thing really took off. And there was a bunch of movies in the mid '90s that reflected that. So writers were kind of trying to break in with that.
Absolutely.
So
It was the thing to do.
Yeah, Things to Do in Denver When You're Dead in '95 was his first major credit, and that's like Steve Buscemi's in that movie, Christopher Walken's in that movie. It's fine.
I was just gonna say it's fine.
Yeah,
It's definitely not memorable.
no, it's enjoyable.
Have you seen it?
Nope.
Yeah, I've only seen it once.
It's not. Yeah, me too. It's not. It wasn't like a movie that stuck out. It was like this was pretty good. So that was so. There's a quote that he gave in regards to the film Beautiful Girls that he did in 1996.
That's a great movie.
Yeah.
Timothy Hutton, Matt Dillon, Uma Thurman, and he said, "It was the worst winter ever in this small hometown. Snowplows were coming by, and I was just tired of writing these movies with people getting shot and killed. So I said, there's more action going on in my hometown with my friends dealing with the fact that they can't deal with turning 30 or with commitment. All that became Beautiful Girls." So I think he kind of realized in those early days that he didn't want to just do the action genre.
Yeah, it wasn't his thing.
Because he went on later, after writing, obviously, this, and he wrote this movie.
Con Air, High Fidelity.
Yeah, Gone in 60 Seconds.
60
and then High
Seconds.
Fidelity is the one I was going to reference.
Right.
Because that's way more in the realm of Beautiful Girls. It's that same people growing up, struggling with identity
Right.
as they get older, commitment issues, all that same stuff.
Well, didn't Timothy Hutton win the Oscar for Beautiful Girls?
I'm not sure.
I believe he did.
Really?
We'll find out.
I believe so.
But yeah, High Fidelity had Cusack in it again, and
Yeah. So obviously he's a guy he's clearly involved with the whole team from this movie, because General's Daughter was written and then directed by Simon West. So same writer director as this film, right? He worked on Con Air with Cage, and then he went on to work on Gone in 60 Seconds with Cage a few years later. Yeah. And then he worked on Con Air with Cusack, and he went on to work with High Fidelity with Cusack a few years later. So he's obviously one of these guys who has some pull and is involved with those same people.
he did not win an Academy Award for that.
Just kidding.
Thanks for being our guest today, Yael.
Way to go.
I'm full of lies.
We throw misinformation out there like it's true at least 5% of the time, so don't worry about it.
It happens.
It happens. If anybody ever calls us out on it, my apologies.
Yeah, we always apologize.
We try our best. So anyway, that's basically the production team. As far as how this movie was made, I mean, it was just kind of one of those...
No one really wants to talk about that with this movie.
No.
We want to talk about the good stuff, the meat of it. But that is what we always do. We got to touch on this a little bit, you know?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's one of those movies where, like, because the genre was so explosive, and like, you can see it in the cast, right? You can see it in the people involved. Like, this is one of those movies where the script is pretty thin. The actors know the script is thin.
Right.
The studio kind of knows everything about this movie is pretty thin.
The script was brilliant.
Yeah. But they they make the movie because it's going to make a lot of money. It's almost like making a sequel to The Rock is what it feels like.
Yeah, it's crazy how this movie, like the faith that they had in it, Buena Vista as a studio, like you're just banking on actors at this point.
Yeah.
And like the chemistry between them, because the script is garbage, and yeah, like you said. So
well, yeah, I mean, let's talk about Buena Vista a little bit, and then making the film. So,
yeah,
$75 million budget, opened June 6th, 1997. That was my birthday, by the way.
Happy birthday.
Yeah, thanks. In 1997.
June 6th.
Yeah.
97.
Domestic, 101. Worldwide, another 122. So its total was 224 million. I mean, very solid numbers.
Yeah, it's very successful.
By today's standards, for what huge blockbusters make.
Right.
Not quite the same, but I mean, still 224. Like, that's very, very solid. You know, it's you're more than tripling your money.
Mm-hmm. It was one of the highest grossing R-rated movies of '97.
Yeah, we have a graphic that's got the top 5 R-rated films of 1997. The first film we did on this show, if you guys want to go back and check out an old episode, is Air Force One, and that is the highest grossing R-rated film of 1997, grossing $172 million domestically.
I almost think I like this movie more though. Even though I love Air Force One and I think Gary Oldman's phenomenal in it, it's a different feel. It's a totally different feel.
It's a little harder.
Yeah.
It's a little harder.
It's like a little more realistic, which is hilarious to say about Air Force One being more realistic than a movie.
Right.
But yeah.
This film is like David Caruso and Jade is what it feels like. No, just kidding. It's a stupid joke.
It's horrible.
Yeah. Good Will Hunting, Face Off, Scream 2, Con Air. So that's the 5th highest grossing R-rated film of 1997. Yeah, I mean, those are all, well, Scream 2 is not very good, but the other 4 movies
those are all great.
Are all, very entertaining.
And Good Will Hunting is not even in discussion.
Right, it's like it's like hilarious that's even on a graphic with these other movies.
Right.
It's just not even in the same conversation at all. Completely different kind of movie. I also like that they just like made Hannibal Lecter a part of this movie. Like, right? Like, that's like, I know it's like a side note, but it's just hilarious when you see Buscemi.
He looks exactly like him.
Yeah, they're like
with the face mask and everything.
Yeah, of course, right? He's just getting wheeled around.
The music when he's like coming out of it, and they like stick the things.
They've got the rods.
Like, that's Garland Green, man.
Yeah. I love that. I love that all the criminals have this. They all like know about each other.
Oh yeah.
And like when because some of Malkovich's lines are really corny, but that's one of the best parts about it.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
Right. I love your work. Like, yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
are you gonna play nice? Probably not.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, let him out. Yeah. They all know each other. They're all celebrities.
Right. They're all celebrity.
They're all criminal celebrities, convict celebrities.
Welcome to Con Air. Like, it's great. We think it's funny because the movie's called Con Air, but if you didn't know what the movie was called, they said that in the script, you'd just be like...
It's like that moment in Family Guy. There it is. There it is. I love when they say the name of the title. Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, this is your captain speaking. Yeah, it's great.
So do you guys know that the film was called Les Ailes d'Enfer, The Wings of Hell in France? Because con in French is a slang word for vagina, as it is in most languages. It's also just like a very strong derogatory term in most languages. So they called the movie The Wings of Hell in other countries.
Wings of Hell.
Because they didn't want to call it like a vagina air.
I really
Why not?
Why not call it that? Yeah.
Take away from it a little bit, I guess.
Yeah, it might take away a little bit. So
you'd think you were seeing a different movie.
Yeah, right. So the film, made, I'd say, a pretty good amount of money. It was critically,
it's like on Rotten Tomatoes, it's the perfect example of what I'm talking about.
Right.
Where the critics give it like a 30%, and then the audience gives it almost an 80%.
Yeah, I mean, I have a difficult time properly evaluating this movie because when we always talk about the categories at the end, this is one of the ones that I use as the example for fall off a cliff of absurdity. Mm-hmm. But I really had to think about that more clearly watching it this time because it didn't seem as absurd this time as it always felt to me.
I have a lot to argue with you.
So, I mean, 31.75 here, what we're talking about is, yes, the audience gave it a 75%. I mean, 75% on Rotten Tomatoes is very strong. Mm-hmm. That's like a good movie. I mean, like...
It's higher than Man on Fire got, I believe.
Or, yeah, the audience. Close to it, at least. You know, and then critics gave it a 31%.
Which is pretty... That's fair, I would say.
But the thing is, like, I feel like in the 90s, we weren't in a day and age yet where there was an appreciation for what this movie was doing.
Right.
So, like, I think that if this movie came out today, like, some of the reviews, right? Ebert says, this is a big cast, but easy to keep straight because everyone is typecast and never does anything out of character.
Right.
The movie is essentially a series of quick setups, brisk dialogue, and elaborate action sequences.
That was a positive review, right?
Yeah, right.
That's a great review.
That sounded negative.
Right, it's like a backhanded compliment.
It's so rude.
But what's hilarious about that is that I feel like if this movie came out today, made in the same way, like if this movie was just somehow erased from history and was released today, and that review came out, I feel like this movie would get like a 75% critics because people would just be like, it's a great parody of the action genre, or like it's giving us exactly what we want from an action movie.
Like you watch this and you get a 31% from critics, and then you go and you look and you see that John Wick has an 80% from critics.
Exactly.
You're like, what are you talking about?
Exactly.
80%. Yeah, it's absurd. But that's what happens.
Sign of the times.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, but it is surprising to me. Sorry to cut you off. It is very surprising to me that they did rate it so low at the time because this is what you expected out of 90s action movies.
I wonder what The Rock got.
I was just thinking that.
Yeah, I wonder what The Rock's Rotten Tomato score is.
I'll look.
Okay. Yeah, so, I mean, some of the other reviews here, that's a fresh review that Ebert gave it. From USA Today, a rotten review. Massaging every demographic, this admittedly fast, funny, and robustly acted... Robustly acted?
I know, it's such a weird,
progeny of The Rock exploits actions of killers and rapists, then cynically sells family values with a lengthy wrap-up ballad.
Right, so that I thought was a positive review.
What?
She's like, I swear these guys messed up the outline.
Right, it's fast, it's funny. I was like, wait, the reviews of the time were just ridiculous.
What's the name of the song? I am the what?
You're talking about the song.
Yeah, the song.
The song that was nominated for an Academy Award for Best Original Song and
a
also,
Razzie for Worst Original Song.
Yeah, it's
I live without you. You're welcome, audience. That was for you.
Beautiful.
Yeah, hilarious because when they play it, it's just absurd.
Right.
Well,
the
they
very
played it in the
beginning.
beginning and they played at the end.
Yeah,
I'm like,
they have to.
We get it. This is the song of the movie.
This is the song
Right.
of Trisha Poe and Cameron Poe when they're together.
Trisha Poe.
Trisha Poe. 66%.
The Rock does.
The Rock.
By critics.
Yes. So
Unbelievable.
over double.
Is this movie twice as bad
I
as
was
The
just
Rock?
going to say, I definitely think The Rock is better than this movie, like a better
Significantly.
movie.
Yeah.
But I don't know about,
Yeah.
twice the score, over twice the score. I don't know, maybe Ed Harris.
It's hard.
Ed
I mean,
Harris
The Rock
so
is like
good.
my favorite ever, almost. So like, but I don't feel like it's my favorite ever, like so much so that this is that much worse.
Yeah, I don't think this movie is that bad.
But I've also never regarded this movie in the same way that I've regarded The Rock. You know,
You just
how
haven't seen
fondly
it
I
as many
regard-
times.
Yeah, but I've chosen
obviously.
to watch The Rock many times.
Fair.
Right? You watched The Rock the other night by choice by yourself, like 2 nights ago, and you've seen it like 100 times. You just like put it on because The Rock's
Oh, of
sweet.
course, yeah,
Then
it's
again,
never-
you've done that with Con Air a lot too.
I have. I've seen this movie. I've probably seen those two movies the same amount.
That's
I
unbelievable.
watched a lot of movies.
Wow.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. The IMDb score 6.0. That's relevant.
6.8. Yeah, that's pretty high,
It is pretty high.
especially for 33 or 31% by the critics on Rotten. Like, we don't have time to do this every single week. Ben and I always debate.
I'm aware.
Yeah.
I'm aware. I've seen the show. Moving on.
We're gonna have a special episode where we just fight. We just actually fist fight over this.
We're going to bring in our 10 selections from the IMDb top 250 that we both think are most erroneous and just like argue about those 10 movies each.
It's gonna be heated, audience.
It's going to be unbelievable. All right, so let's get into Ultimate Action Scene. We're going to keep this one a little shorter this week, guys, because ultimately, the Ultimate Action Scene we went with is the assault on Lerner Airfield.
Meet cars. Carson City. They're going to Lerner Airfield.
They're going to Lerner Airfield. So, like, this scene is about as, like, Michael Bay-esque action as it gets. It's like, and I know that it's not a Michael Bay movie. Do not be mistaken, guys.
Right.
I'm well aware. It just feels like the most just, like, hands in the air, slow-mo, like,
Right.
like
grenade launcher.
yeah, just stuff exploding,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
Cage jumping through a window.
Yes.
Like you don't even really know what the hell
old guy
happens
underneath the truck, just
yeah.
like sitting there. He's like, "Tongue shouldn't use that needle, son,"
Yeah.
or whatever.
I mean, literally, you can watch what I thought about when the scene started was like, okay, there's how much time in the movie left? I was like, so Malkovich is not going to die,
Right.
Cage is not going to die,
Of course.
and Cusack's not going to die,
Yeah, they're all gonna show their action chops here.
and his friend's not going to die because he's going to save him. No one else here matters. So you could
Yeah.
all die or you
Kill
could not
everyone.
die, but let's just fast forward through the scene because this is not going to be a particularly well executed action scene. It's just
None of the
generic.
main dudes die, like the main bad guys. None of them. Billy Bedlam, being Rames.
Well, Bedlam dies earlier,
Bedlam's
remember?
already dead.
Excuse me.
stabbed
And like anyone that's been introduced, like Swamp Thing.
Yeah, right.
Well, they need Swamp Thing.
The girl.
Yeah.
Sally can't dance? What's her name?
Sally can't dance.
Yeah.
That's her name.
Yeah, but
I love when he's like laying out. He's got like all the cans and the rocks.
yeah.
He's like laying it out, and then he's like, "This is this. This is this. This is this." And he's like,
What's
he goes,
that?
"What's that?"
It's a rock.
That's a rock. Like hits it out of the way.
okay. Yeah, that's a good line. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, did you guys have any feelings on the scene? I was like trying to. I looked up making of Lerner
there's
Airfield
nothing.
battle. Yeah,
Yeah.
It's such like an irrelevant action set piece. I mean, I almost feel like the better action scene is like the plane takeover, but that's not really like
Right. It's too short, and it's like it's not the same. Like this is the ultimate action scene of the movie. Because other than this, there's the Vegas thing, which is this is
the
the
airplane.
scene.
I mean, and like the casino like getting like destroyed.
Mm-hmm.
Like that was the
chase through the city.
With the fire truck
and the
which
motorcycles.
I every time forget about that because it's such a
it's
irrelevant.
Yeah.
Like he escaped and then we have to chase him. Like why? Why couldn't he just die on the plane and call it a day?
We talk about this regularly on the show.
Yeah.
And you can elaborate because I know that you love to talk about it.
It's essentially that all these movies, all these 90s ones, and even some of the more recent ones, they struggle in the third act to end the movie.
Right.
And they all feel like they have to tack on this extra 15 minutes of action for whatever reason. Sometimes it works.
To like catch the bad guy or to kill him.
It's always like it's like oh, the exchange with Dennis Hopper and Speed didn't go. Oh, now he's on the subway and we have to chase him down. Like final action scene.
Right.
Like it's always like this one thing they just like to tack on at the end of
Like
these
it
movies.
is completely necessary, but it's not enjoyable.
Right.
Like I mean, the car chase scene is not that cool.
No.
It's kind of cool in the 90s as a kid, I guess.
Nah, it's
but like you go back and watch it now, you're like, I wish everyone died in the plane crash.
Yes.
I mean, the idea that Cameron Poe gets off the plane and he steals a motorcycle.
Right. Yeah, right.
And then Cusack is like, well, I'm also going to steal a motorcycle.
Catch him.
And we're going to work together. I'm like, no, this is the part that I'm like, this is the part that's ridiculous.
So the Swamp Thing can drive the fire truck. Of course, he drives everything large.
Of course.
That's what he does.
That's what he's good at.
Yeah.
That guy like did not age a day until
he looks
because he was in Lost. He's one of the others, and he looks exactly the same. I was like, where do I know that guy from? And then I was like, that's like 10 years later, and he literally looks the same age.
Love it.
The Sands, the casino, in the mid 90s was like set up for demolition.
Right. Yeah.
So they got footage of that, and that's a lot of the footage you see in the film. Is actual footage of the casino being like demolished.
It's perfect for them, saving a bunch of money and time and all that good stuff.
Exactly. So I kind of want to. I mean, we've pretty much talked about everything production note wise. Unless you
could talk about how the Wendover airfield, what Lerner Airfield was, is they did bomb testing and for Fat Man and Little Boy, Hiroshima, all that. But really, again, we don't really care about that with this movie.
Yeah, I think we all kind of are on the same page that we want to get into the sweet
fun stuff. The good stuff.
Yeah. So let's get into it. Let's go first with favorite line. God, there's a lot of good ones.
Oh my gosh, there's so many good ones.
If you guys have a favorite line or a ranking or anything you want to add to this, please feel free to add in. I would love to hear what you have to say. And actually, before we get into this one section, I do want to point out, so Andrew and I have been wondering for a while, we know, we see the numbers on YouTube, so we know how many people are watching on YouTube, and some episodes do extremely well, and others don't. We don't have any idea why. We'll keep doing the show. That doesn't matter. What we want to know is how many of you guys are downloading and listening on Popcorn Talk, because Andrew and I have placed an order for custom Popcorn Talk action movie anatomy mugs.
Just like this.
And we haven't gotten them yet. We have a limited number of them. We ordered just a few. But the plan right now is we're going to start giving them away based on fan participation in our show.
Right.
So if you guys...
we want your address.
Yeah, we want your address. So the deal is this, guys. This is how this is going to work. If you do an iTunes review for us, a YouTube comment, and prepare a full recast and do it on an episode, if you're the 10th review on iTunes, we'll send you a mug. I know that sounds complicated. A comment, a review, and a recast.
Yep.
But if you're the 10th review on iTunes, every 10th for the first 50, we'll send a mug to. We have 5 mugs to give away.
Right. And we're not doing this next week, but we are doing it very soon. So something to think about, something to get used to,
yes,
if you will.
But the offer now is on the table. So the 10th review, every 10 for the first 50, that's how this is going to work. We have placed the order. The mugs will be here in a couple weeks, but we'll get in touch with you if you win a mug. If you're interested in that sort of thing, let us know. Let's get into favorite lines.
Can I get a mug?
Yeah, well, we'll obviously have mugs once they show up. I can't
wait.
I want a mug.
You can drink out of it while you're on the show.
Okay. All right.
We're selling mugs for $100. No. Just kidding. All right, favorite lines.
Favorite line. Okay. Let's let the lady go first, because I know she has some good ones. I think we have like the same ones.
We do.
Yeah?
We have a lot of the same ones. All right, so I think that one of the best ones is I despise rapists. For me, they're somewhere between a cockroach and that white stuff that accumulates at the corner of your mouth when you're really thirsty.
Love that line.
Oh, so
and the way he
good.
delivered it. Yeah. Trejo is great in this.
He's fantastic.
I love that you never see him die, but you just see his arm hanging handcuffed to the airplane.
Right.
You just see it there, you're like, oh, he's dead.
Yeah, right.
Well,
of course.
they say it. They're like, this one's dead.
Yeah,
and they just pull him off, and then
Johnny 23.
It took me a minute to realize that that's his arm.
That's the arm
still
with the
there.
tattoos, yeah. Call me Johnny 600 if I knew the truth.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go into mine, and that one was definitely, I think, my top one. But my next one is a Steve Buscemi line, and he goes, define irony. A bunch of idiots dancing around on a plane to a song made famous by a band that died in a plane crash. I don't know why, but as a kid, and even now, I just love that line. It's like the smartest thing in the whole movie.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Absolutely.
And then also the last Mohican is burning, man.
I can't believe you guys didn't just choose any of these sweet Nick Cage lines.
Put the bunny back in the box.
I mean, yeah, put the bunny back in the box. Like, there's like 7 that I wrote down.
Yeah.
Like, there's all these little sound bites where he's like, Cyrus, this is your barbecue and it tastes good. Like, there's just so many lines like that where it's like, what? It's just incredible. I mean, like, there's also the line where sunsets are beautiful, babies are beautiful. This is fucking spectacular, right? the I know you're gonna die guy.
Oh
yeah, even though, but yeah, I mean he plays the role. I mean,
absolutely.
What else? I mean, like I also love when Cusack is standing and they're watching the plane go off, and who is that? The chick? That's one of the Arquettes.
I can't remember her name. Yeah, I think so.
Is it one of the Arquettes? I like definitely recognize who she is. She's just not coming to mind right now. But anyway, she's like, oh, I hope this goes smoothly. All this monsters on one plane. And he's like, please, Jenny, this is a well-oiled machine. All we have to do is worry about a little stale peanuts and a little bit of turbulence.
Yeah.
It's just like, come on, guys, really?
This is how it's gonna go.
You need to give us this line.
People in the world on a plane. Yeah.
Yeah. There's just so many. I don't know. It's
everything.
I also have Pinball when he meets Swamp Thing. Hey man, you Swamp Thing?
Yeah.
That's right. You're gonna fly this plane? That's right. It's amazing the shit you white trash know. That's right.
Yeah.
I do think my favorite line in the whole movie though is one I already said earlier, which is, "What the hell are you looking at for? I was just admiring your cage.
Yeah.
Fits you pretty good." It's so good.
There are literally 100 best lines in this movie.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're relentless.
Completely agree. So let's get into hero villain ranking.
This is interesting.
It's a weird one.
This is a weird one because they are both they really are iconic.
Yeah.
And you don't forget them.
Nope.
But is Cyrus the Virus a top 50 villain of all time? I really don't think Cameron Poe is a top 50 hero for me. Maybe high 40s, maybe.
I'm so glad you said it because I was like, I don't think they rank anywhere on the list.
Yeah.
It is weird. It's like Malkovich is like sweet. He's
sweet, and he has like this. He's like, again, like he hates rapists. Like there's this thing about him that's still kind of like respectable. Like he's intelligent.
He's memorable.
He's a bad guy. Like he's very cruel when he sets that dude on fire, which I love. Sayonara.
Sayonara.
Yeah. Sayonara. Yeah.
It's great. I would say definitely Poe doesn't rank for me, but I mean.
My hummingbird.
He's my hummingbird.
I'm gonna start referring to you as that on the show.
I think Cyrus is top 50.
Yeah, but like 45 plus, right?
Yeah, like he doesn't feel like he ranks in the same conversation as the Davians and the T-1000s of the world. Like he's just not in the Ivan Krasnovs.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
He's just not in that class.
What do you think? Would you put him in the top 50 at all?
Sure. Like 49.
This is always like this is for anybody who hasn't done every episode. It's like an eyeball just ballpark it. But I mean, he doesn't stand out.
Right. I mean, like he's fun. He's fun to watch. He's, as you said, he's smart, and he has his not standards, but he's like, oh, rapists are like,
right. Yeah.
You are at the bottom of this totem pole.
Right.
Of these murderers, the guy who wore a girl's head as a hat.
Right. Like he's at the top.
Yeah. You are way below him. But he's not someone that when someone's like, oh, what's your favorite movie villain?
Right.
It wouldn't even occur to me to think about him.
Of course.
No.
And that sucks because I do love this movie.
Right.
I do love that he has the anarchist cookbook in his cell.
Yeah.
Which is just like, that lets you know again, like this movie is a mid-90s movie.
Yeah.
Everyone talked about the anarchist cookbook when I was in middle school. It was the cool thing.
Yeah, right.
You know?
He just teaches you how to make pipe bombs.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
That's
and then the guard is like, he's like, you told us not to touch anything. He's like, whatever.
Of course I'll touch things. He's not dangerous. He's not Cyrus the Virus's cell. I'm an idiot. I have no idea what's going on. Let me just blow this box up.
Yeah. So good. Our recast. This is it, because we did a lot this week.
We did a lot.
We did 4.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, Monica Potter, I just felt like we had to do for some reason.
Yeah.
She's very, she doesn't really matter in the movie at all.
Yeah.
But she's also matters so much.
She could be anyone.
Anyone.
She literally could be anyone.
Yeah, so that she's like, pick an up and coming blond and pick it. And I was like, okay, that's a good idea.
That's my recast.
Happy to do that.
Yeah.
Any up and coming blonde.
So who'd you pick?
You want me to start?
Yeah, sure.
With Monica Potter.
Yeah.
Jennifer Morrison.
Okay.
Do you know who that is?
Yeah.
Yeah.
From House of Once Upon a Time.
She's the wife in Warrior. She plays a fantastic supportive wife.
I'm in love. I am in love with her.
Yeah, so am I. Obviously, we've both seen that movie about 100 times.
I don't cry during it.
I don't ever cry during it.
Never cried.
She's incredible.
Yeah, she is phenomenal. And she would be great in this. She's such a good, she's a great wife.
She's great. Because the theory is if you were going to remake this movie today, you couldn't really make it as corny. You would have to serious it up a little bit.
Just a little bit.
You would just have to. It's just the sign of the times. You couldn't, unless you intentionally were making a comedy, but that's not what this movie wanted to be at the time. It wasn't trying to do that. So you would have to make it a little more serious.
And if it did, it would be bad.
Yeah. So I think you would need, and she could play, I mean, her performance could be generic while still being entertaining. I mean, I love her, but I think she would be great in just sort of the limited screen time she gets.
I think she's too good for it.
Interesting. I mean, that's fair.
I don't want to say, so any Monica Potter fans aren't going to kill me. She went on to do great things.
Yeah.
At the time, that role was irrelevant.
Sure.
Absolutely.
There was a blonde.
Throwaway. Right. Well,
just like a pretty Southern belle look.
I love Jennifer Morrison. What can I say?
I love her so much. Yeah, who do you have?
I said any up-and-coming blonde.
Oh, it's funny
You
because
didn't even have-
I considered just saying that.
yeah.
It could be anyone. I thought about it, but I love Jennifer Morrison. So
I went with Margot Robbie because she's so popular right now. It seems like she would be put in that role, although she might be a little too big.
yeah, she's
Because of-
super hot.
She is, very. And Monica Potter was 90s super hot.
Yeah. I mean, she's getting like, Margot Robbie's getting like real movies.
That's what I'm saying. She's kind of too big now after
Suicide
like
Squad.
the Harley Quinn. It's
Yeah.
too much. Yeah.
Fair enough. Let's go with Cusack.
Yeah. Vince Larkin.
I went with Cusack, actually.
Why not?
Yeah.
You totally could do it again. I mean, everyone in this movie, even Monica Potter, everyone could do this role again.
Oh, yeah.
If they remade this movie now with the same
Theory,
cast, you could.
Cage is pretty old.
Don't you say that. I think you could do it.
I don't think he knows
Their
that.
blood will be on our blades.
He can't be that jacked anymore.
That's
You have to
true.
take a lot of
That's fair.
HGH, man.
Okay.
A lot of HGH.
That's a good point. Who did you... I'll go with mine. Ed Norton.
So good. It's great. Damn it, that's good.
Yeah.
I'm so proud of that one.
I kind of would want him to be like 04 Ed Norton because he
Right.
feels like he's a little old. Like watching him in Birdman, like he feels a little older now, but
Yeah.
it doesn't matter. I mean, he could still do it. I mean, like Cusack is even older and he could still do it. So,
Yeah.
David Schwimmer maybe. No, let's just keep the faith.
Why would you say that?
No.
Who do you have as Larkin?
I have Colin Hanks.
I think that's good. You told me that
Hanks.
before the show.
Yeah,
Tom
Colin
Hanks'
Hanks.
son.
Oh,
Yeah,
gotcha.
Colin Hanks. I mean, because of Fargo,
Right.
Right.
I'm like, yeah, I could see Colin Hanks.
He could do it. He's grown on me over the last decade.
Yeah.
I'm still not a huge fan of him, but I could definitely see him doing
I
it.
forget always that he's an adult because I'm so used to thinking of him as like a teenager
Right,
or like a
right.
college age.
Mm-hmm.
So I would like to keep giving him adult roles so that I can continue to be like, oh, that's right. He
Yeah,
is like,
you're like
in his
30.
30s.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, it's like the Larkin role is like pretty generic. It's funny. Like you need like a certain kind of energy for it, but it's because I thought like Justin Long for a minute. So he's like nerdy enough, but then you can think like you can't make him too competent or like too much of a leading man. He has to like the Cusack really hit the nail on the head with his star in the 80s and 90s was like so particular.
Yeah.
He was this guy who could like really get away. Like for instance, him in Grosse Pointe Blank is like the ultimate
I love that movie.
Cusack movie.
Yeah.
Because it's a comedy, but he's a killer, and you believe him as a killer.
Absolutely.
But you also believe him as like this docile kind of nerd. He's like funny, but he's also scary.
Yeah.
It's very weird that he's able to pull it off. There's very few guys I can think of nowadays that are able to do the same thing.
I know. It's funny when you said Justin Long, I thought about James Franco for a minute, but I think he's too big.
Franco
Zachary
would be
Levi.
Bad, right?
good. Franco would be really good in this. Actually.
Zachary Levi?
Yeah.
Remind me who he is.
Zachary Levi was Chuck. He's going to be in the new Heroes Reborn. He's.
How do I not know who this guy
Zachary
is?
Levi is?
Just put us to shame. Y'all just
did.
put us to shame.
This will be the last episode of Action Movie Anatomy.
This is the last one. Firing myself.
Yep. Don't look him up.
Let's talk. Let's talk Malkovich.
Malkovich? Okay. Yael, please. God, this one's so good. I don't know how I didn't think of this.
Bryan Cranston.
Bryan Cranston.
Perfect.
Yeah, it's so good.
I love him. I love him so much, and he would do
course.
this role perfectly.
And he'd shave his head.
And
he
He'd
would
just
shave
be
his head,
perfect.
yeah.
He'd be incredible. Yeah, it's a really good one. Scary, weirdly intense.
Yeah.
Kind of like my only doubt with Cranston is because of his age. The
Right.
idea that
Yeah.
he would be able to physically actually like be a badass. Like Malkovich
like
was
the
like
very
young
end
enough.
of the like on the fire truck fight scene. It's like,
Yeah.
could Bryan Cranston? Is that believable?
Yes.
You gotta just change it a little, especially if you're changing the tone to be a little more serious. You
Yeah.
don't even need it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Get rid of that.
really
stupid
good.
I love that one. Whose is yours? He wouldn't tell me.
I want
my best friend.
I want to know yours first.
I have two.
Okay. You better not say mine.
I don't think I will. So I went with Corey Stoll halfway.
Okay.
He's the bad guy in Ant-Man, and I don't like that.
Yeah.
I didn't say that.
Testing the waters.
The other one is Timothy Oliphant.
Oh yeah, Oliphant's good.
right.
Yeah, like he's good. He's believable as a fighter.
I didn't like him as the villain in.
The Die Hard.
Yeah. He wasn't very believable to
But
me.
in Hitman, he was cool.
Yeah, he's capable and he's bald.
And he's bald.
Yeah.
That's all that matters.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean I like him.
What'd you do?
A weird one.
Who is it?
Joaquin Phoenix.
Oh,
Oh.
interesting.
Listen, this is what I was thinking.
Would he shave his head?
No. Remember how weird he got when he was in that phase with the beard and the sunglasses?
Yeah.
And he was way out of it?
Yeah.
And he was such a weirdo.
Oh, that'd be
And he made up
sweet.
shit. He just like started saying weird
Can you
stuff.
imagine
in interviews?
putting that weirdo character in this movie in a remake where he's like the master, because he's good at being creepy. We've seen it in Gladiator.
He's good at being creepy. No, he is. Him as Gladiator, I think, might be the number one villain of all time for me.
Yeah,
he's so good. He would be fantastic. That's a good one.
Yeah, I was pretty proud of it.
Yeah, Cranston and Joaquin. Those are both good.
I have two weird ones that I think might be interesting
For villain?
Yeah, for Cyrus. Johnny Depp might be really fun.
Well, yeah, because he's like capable of pretty much doing anything.
Have you seen that new preview of him as Whitey Bulger?
Yeah,
Looks pretty badass.
Yeah, it looks awesome.
Yeah,
it would just be really fun to watch that. And I also said, wouldn't it be cute to see Stanley Tucci do it? Wouldn't that be adorable?
I love Stanley Tucci. I think he's fantastic.
I despise rapists.
I think he's a couple years past where he would want to be for it.
Right, but it would be so adorable.
He's like a good enough actor that I believe he could pretty much do anything.
Do you fly, Johnny? Because if your dick jumps out of your pants, you jump out of this plane. I don't know why he's like a 19s, 20s, like...
No, because he often talks... Yeah, that's like often his thing.
But that'd be so good.
That's pretty funny.
All right, I'm glad I got to say that.
Yeah, let's go with our Cages.
Okay. I feel like mine's too obvious. It's Chris Pratt. He's jacked. He's got that charm.
Yeah.
He's very popular right now.
Yeah.
I think he would do it perfectly.
You just get rid of the Southern thing. I try to imagine making this movie
Why
with
would you get rid of the Southern thing?
I was trying to imagine making this movie with the Southern accent, like, and having it not seem absurd.
Right.
But I don't know that you can.
Oh, I got it.
I think you can.
Then mine's perfect.
I hope you didn't choose the same one as mine. Oh, no, so he doesn't have a Southern accent for you?
No, he does.
Is it Josh Holloway?
No.
Oh, that's what I went with Josh Holloway.
Oh,
All
okay.
right.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah,
that's good.
right.
I went a little bit younger, and I went Garrett Hedlund.
Oh, I love Garrett Hedlund.
I do too.
Yeah.
I don't know if I like it as the recast. I don't know why. I can't even tell you why. Maybe because he's too young or too pretty or something.
I kind of had a similar thought with Taylor Kitsch because I kind of went there.
I thought about Taylor Kitsch for a minute too.
Well, I just think he'd be perfect. I mean, he did an accent, or I don't know if he actually has one, but he did an accent in Georgia Rule, which is where I first met him.
Right.
Did you guys ever watch the country movie, Country Strong?
No.
Actually liked that movie.
Oh yeah.
Like Marissa in the booth.
Yeah, I actually liked that movie. Yeah, it's quite good, and he's good in it.
Yeah.
And the music's good. So I had the same thought, right? I didn't think about Hetland, but I feel like Kitsch is kind of the same class,
right?
And it is weird. Like there's this because you're trying to figure out what's the quality that Cage has in this movie that you're trying to recreate, and how much of his character are you trying to get rid of?
It's so weird. Like how do you pinpoint what he is in this movie?
Because he's not iconic, right? We've established that he's memorable, but he's not iconic.
And he's not even that charming.
No. He doesn't have movie star comedy. It's not one of Cage's better roles. Like he's entertaining, but it's not like one of his best.
But why? Why is he so entertaining in this? It's because it's a joke.
And he's got so many stupid lines.
Oh, every line.
Like, what's the line when the guy's like, what's wrong with him? My first thought would be a lot. Like, it's just so many good lines. I mean, you just think about all the, like, any of these actors trying to say any of those lines, or even if you cut, like, a lot of those lines out.
Yeah.
But, like, you still would need some because that's the character. The character is, like, really corny.
Yeah, why? Like, why is he so stupid? He's not a dumb guy.
No.
And he's, like, militarily trained, like, intense.
Yeah. He's a ranger.
He's a ranger. I like the
your training makes you a lethal weapon.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I completely. And that's why I was thinking, like, Josh Holloway is, like, good at seeming kind of, like, Southern and stupid. Yeah. I don't think he'd be as funny. I think he's a little too serious, but I don't think you could really get away with trying to make it funny in the same way. So
it's interesting. It's kind of hard to recast because it is such a unique character.
My other idea was Chris Hemsworth because he already has the hair.
See, I can't do Hemsworth. I don't know why. I think he's too buff and he's too pretty.
Yeah, maybe.
But he probably could.
Hair.
He does. Yeah. He does have the hair.
He does have the hair.
It bothers me so much.
You hate it.
When he gets off the bus and the wind is blowing through, I'm like, no, why is this happening?
That picture. That's the most iconic picture of this movie.
I love Nick Cage so much. All right, I think we'll skip over Cage versus Cruise. Do we think this movie would have been better if Tom Cruise was playing the Nick Cage role?
I think it'd be better if Tom Cruise was playing the John Malkovich role.
Really?
Yeah.
No, I'm just
I think that might be it would be an interesting movie.
Yeah, Cruise has no business being in this movie. No, and in 1997 when this movie was made, he was like the biggest star on earth.
He'd be cue ball.
Yeah, he'd be cue ball. He's capable, man. He could do it. All right, so let's get into the final category, guys.
This is interesting now. Categorizing this movie after watching it again and doing our show for a while. I don't know if I put this movie in Fall Off the Cliff absurdity.
I don't think so anymore. It's very...
Yes.
This whole show's been a lie.
Yeah, I'm so happy.
No, I still think it is.
You still do?
Yeah.
Please back that up.
It's still totally ridiculous to me because of what we're talking about. The quality of the main character. Like, for instance, the best comparison is obviously The Rock, because it's the same formula, right?
Yes.
They tried to make the same movie, and they're both starring Nicolas Cage.
Yes.
But for whatever reason, he's totally laughable and ridiculous in this movie, but he's not laughable and ridiculous in The Rock. Like, most of the prerequisites that go...
Find some freaking rockets.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I mean, everything about John Malkovich that's, like, pretty cool, but he's still a little corny.
He's not grounded enough.
Well, because he's still a little corny. He still says shit that where you're just like, that's a corny line, but you're awesome.
Line, right.
Whereas Ed Harris is just awesome through and through, and just plays that movie.
There is not one moment where you're like, this is what Ed really.
He plays it totally seriously.
I call him Ed.
Yeah,
we hang out.
Sean Connery, very good. Like, he's got like,
well, he has some absurd lines. I'm just borrowing your Humvee.
Yeah, but I mean, like, it's not great. The same thing. It doesn't have like, okay, the opening sequence, for instance, where where in this movie, my fist bump moment, where he's doing the pull-ups and he's like, dear Casey,
Casey.
That's so laughable immediately. It's so funny. Like,
I love that he's doing like the plank.
Yeah. It's laughable immediately. Whereas, like, there's not really a sequence I can think of in The Rock that's just immediately laughable. Like, there's just. It's like there's points that are a little campy, but there's no point in the movie that I'm watching and I'm just thinking to myself,
this is absurd.
And The Rock defines it, and it's the same movie, but it's like not. Okay. So I think that this movie is totally ridiculous. It's maybe closer than I thought.
Yeah,
it's engaging the whole way through, which is one of the cornerstones of ridiculously legitimate.
Yes,
but I do think it's totally ridiculous. Whereas, like, I think Face Off is actually totally ridiculous, like way totally ridiculous, because I watched it more recently.
Absolutely. That movie's absurd.
But Con Air is...
They trade faces, for God's sakes.
But Con Air is like almost there.
Yeah.
But it still is, for me, it's in the third category, totally ridiculous.
You're swaying me.
It's a good argument, wasn't it?
It was a great argument.
That was a pretty good
Damn
argument.
it.
Yeah, that's why I wanted you to elaborate, because I thought that...
Damn you!
You know, audience, this week is definitely one of those where we need you to participate in our recast. We need you to talk to us about what you would categorize this movie in, because I think it's so interesting this week.
Yeah.
The recast is so fun, and the live viewers are totally in on it, but putting this movie in a category is a little more difficult than I thought it was going to be.
It's hard. It's one of those ones where if the categories are like 33, 33, 33,
right,
and like there's like the fraction of the 1%, like dividing the three categories, this almost falls on that fraction between categories 2 and 3. Like, it's almost there, but I just think it tips into absurdity.
Okay, so what, Yael, did you get swayed, or where are you at now?
Okay, so I started in ridiculously legitimate because I was like, all right, let's say this situation happened, right? Let's say this happened. This is how I would like it to go down. That seems legitimate to me.
Yeah, you want a plane to crash into Las Vegas.
Right.
We didn't describe the categories for our fans. we forgot
We're so excited this week about this movie that we've been dumbed down because of it.
Hold that thought. The three categories, guys, are totally legitimate. This is a movie like The Fugitive or like Die Hard, which is a totally real movie that is really strong but has action elements. Ridiculously legitimate, which is the middle category, which is kind of a combination of campy and legit. Generally speaking, has a really great performance that's grounding the movie, something that would be award worthy if it weren't in the film. And lastly, that's going to be a movie like The Rock, basically. And lastly, you have totally ridiculous, which is movies that just are absurd and like they're awesome. We don't do bad movies on this show, at least we don't try to.
We don't think that they're bad.
Well, yeah, until we like go rewatch them sometimes. Independence Day. But usually we don't do movies that are bad, and it has to. So if it's ridiculous, it's like bad good essentially, which is like that's Face Off. And I thought this movie was defining of the category. So my choice is totally ridiculous, and Yael is describing which category it is for her.
I'm changing it. I'm going with totally ridiculous. I'm moving.
All right, I win.
You've swayed me, and then especially once you define the categories after your bold statement of it being the best worst movie, I'm like, yeah, damn it. I wanted it to be ridiculously legitimate.
Yeah.
I want it to be. But it's not.
No.
Shout out to the guy who said that the guy in the purple tie does great impersonations. Thank you.
Was he referencing the just borrowing your Humvee line? I think he probably was.
That was.
He did a good job on that one.
That was a good one. I was proud of that one.
Yeah, spontaneous.
I've been afraid to read any.
Let's
quotes.
not stay on it, okay?
Can we just keep talking about this?
Because I can't. I was like, I can't do this accent.
You can't do it?
Nope. So I'm not gonna. I was like,
I don't think
no.
that's a bad thing, honestly. Oh man, I don't know, man. I definitely get what you're saying. I totally understand. If we're calling The Rock ridiculously legitimate, and this is kind of like a perfect comparison of the two movies. I mean, these two movies are always going to be compared because they're so close, same lead. But yeah, fine. It's totally legitimate.
Totally legitimate.
Yeah, it is. It is totally ridiculous.
Excellent.
It is absolutely totally ridiculous. It is on the line, and I do love it. But like you said, I said it was the worst movie of all time.
I don't want it to be.
Right.
I don't either. I don't know why. I don't even know why I care. But I want it to be ridiculously legitimate.
I mean, it's a damn good thing that it fits in this category for all three of us because we've been quoting this movie for 17 weeks or something like that.
Just to save our ass,
It's like totally ridiculous.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's it. That's our show today, guys. That wraps it up. Yael, thank you so much.
You were great.
For being an incredible guest.
Yeah, and thanks for picking the movie. I love this movie.
Yeah, it was a fun one for us to
Thanks for enjoying the movie.
Yeah.
I was really worried you guys were going to be like, I'm wearing airplane
Oh my
earrings.
God, they're airplanes.
They're airplane earrings.
That is adorable.
Because we did Con Air.
That is genius.
I was like, with earrings? Oh, I have to wear the airplane earrings.
Yeah. Ben, you're fired.
Yael, if the people wanted to find you, where can they find you?
They can find me online at yell.tv. That's YAEL.tv. Also, I'm on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook at Yael Tygiel. That's YAELTYGIEL.
Yael Tygiel.
You added a D.
I know. What was that?
I'm not sure how that happened.
There's already enough letters in that last
We've known
name.
each other a while. I don't know. I've been calling you that the whole time, so
This is awkward.
that's embarrassing.
Very awkward.
Andrew, where would you buy a purple tie? I mean, sorry, where can the people find you?
You can find me at greatimpersonations.com. Improv, yeah. You can find me at Andrew Ghai, Ghai, on Twitter. Thank you guys so very much for watching.
And if you guys want to find me, you can find me at Ben Bateman Media on Twitter and Instagram. And one more time, we have Action Movie Anatomy mugs coming. It is your challenge as a fan of the show. Rate us on iTunes with a review. Comment on a YouTube video.
And recast.
And recast whatever the episode that you've watched on YouTube. Once you've done that, tweet at any of us to let us know that it's done. And you're there. If you're the 10th review, you got a mug.
It's the
paid for by Action Movie Anatomy on the way to you.
Yay.
Thank you guys for coming back
address.
week after week. We'll see you next week.
Bye.
From producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire Popcorn Talk Network, we would like to thank you for tuning in. For questions or comments, be sure to visit popcorntalk.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of the Popcorn Talk Network.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of the Popcorn Talk Network or its owners or principals.